everybody. I hope you are doing well, live and kicking. This video is dedicated to the Beatles books. Now, if you remember, a long time ago I made a video about Beatles discography books. I'll show them now quickly. Yeah, you're familiar, most of the Americans familiar with them. Also another UK one, Bruce Spicer book about part of the UK discography, and another Bruce Spicer, again, Bible for Beatles collectors, the Beatles story on Capitol Records, and the guide, the price guide, which also Bruce Spicer is put forward here, but this book is by Perry Cox and Frank Daniels. This is a price guide, a very famous price guide for the Americans, Beatles. Now, also, I have the Christoph Maus books of discography around the world, for albums and for singles, for 7-inch 45s, and the Alex Bagheera books, which is focusing on the East European discography. What a great, I must say, what a great book. And the, for me, the ultimate discography books ever, the much desirable, the Beatles covered by Joachim Noske from Germany. Go to the, I'll put a link below for these reviews, these books. But also, well, as you remember, I contributed to the book of Joachim Noske, and also to this series of books by Eising and Samuel. Eising from Holland is the owner of the Beatles Museum in Alkmaar, and Samuel that is from Belgium, and dedicated to focusing on 7-inch and 45s. Okay, again, there's a newer series by them, 45s, which is still going on. Now we are in volume 15, Italy, number 2. Remember the Israeli one also helped Samuel on this volume. Now, the other books that are not specialized in discography. Also, I need to mention that there's no magazines here or newspapers, which have a vast collection of them, and maybe I'll show them in another video. Also, there's no books about other artists here that the Beatles appeared in them. Only books that are focusing on the Beatles themselves, and of course, the ultimate Beatles anthology from 2000, authorized by the Beatles themselves. Of course, the remaining Beatles at that time, 3 of them, of course, Paul, George, and Ringo. So this is the Beatles anthology. Now let's go to the other books that I have here. I have many, and very interesting one. You can say. Let's show you first of all Jeffrey Giuliano, Beatles album. Now this is a memorabilia book, okay, with records, but mainly other stuff by the Beatles. There's a very interesting book focusing on the 1966 tour, last tour, which is not so known, mainly in US, if you talk about Shia Stadium 1966, you all know about Shia Stadium 1965. So this is a very essential book for this year and this tour, the last tour of them. Merzibit, The Beginnings of the Beatles. This is a book, of course, from the newspaper Merzibit. Here you can see Bill Harry, the editor, in his heyday. This is another discography, but a very old one. But I keep it because it has many things that don't appear in the new one, especially autograph and signature by the Beatles and other memorabilia stuff that's in this old paperback book, discographies. Black Market Beatles. This is for bootlegs. People who like bootlegs. It's a very thorough examination of the Beatles bootlegs. Another very nice and important book, I think, The Ultimate Beatles Encyclopedia. It's on the. You can see it's like the white album because this has a number here, and it is a book by Bill Harry. Okay, it has many important information about them, like encyclopedia at the ABC. Okay, this is an original paperback book, paperback writer from the American first tour, all about the Beatles. See the yellowing pages, an original 1964 book all about the Beatles by Edward de Blasio. Another, let's say, some kind of an original because it's, I think it's late 60s edition. A Spaniard in the Works, John Lennon, very famous, one of the two books, paperback books that he wrote, again, paperback writer. Very interesting, Get Back, the unauthorized chronicle of the Beatles, Let It Be Disaster. This is, if you want to know about the Beatles recordings of Get Back sessions, you have a full and complete songs and listing for these sessions, which is very nice. The Beatles After Breakup, 1970-2000. This is by Keith Badman. It's basically a continuation of the books by Mark Lewison. Now, Keith Badman, I know personally because in the 80s I bought for him personally video recordings of the Beatles. I met him in Liverpool, first time in the Beatles Extravaganza weekend in Liverpool in August at that time, and 1983, and I bought from him videos, VHS, and I've been to his house. It was quite an adventure. Next is The Beatles A Hard Day's Night. This is a book, and I'm very fond of course, the Beatles movies, and I like Beatles books about movies, and this is all the screen, the screenshots and from these film and movie, and all the screen play. Yeah. You can see. Now, the Ultimate Recording Guide, this is a very old one, Alan Viner, must say it's not the best book ever. But still, there are some interesting information and photos here. Okay, and from Others Night, let's go to Help. Now, the Help movies, first of all, another amazing book of Help items, let's say, records and other things, and photographs from the set of Help, which are very, very nice. Very, very nice photographs, colors and black and white from the movie. And I think one of the late edition, recent edition of 8 Arms to Hold You, Beatles book to the movie Help. Great info, great pictures and photographs and photos. I mentioned Mark Lewison, and this is the complete Beatles Chronicle, what came before the Keith Bedman. It's another Bible for Beatles enthusiasts that want to know about the days of the Beatles during the 60s, what they've done on basically every day. We turn to movies. There's the Beatles at the movies, which lists all the movies and the movies that were cancelled, that were not to be. And there are few here. Scenes from a Career, including new exclusive interviews with Paul McCartney and Richard Lester. Great. Very, very strange, but very, very unique book from Japan. It's a Japanese book about the tour of the Beatles to Japan back in 1966. Also have some kinds of things here inside, inserts in Japanese, and there's color here. Okay, we continue to other very, very interesting books. Now this one is one of my earliest book that I acquired back in the 70s, in the late 70s. There were only 3 books that I purchased at this time. One of them is lost. I don't remember what his name is. It's a blue cover, illustrated something Beatles. This is the Beatles Forever, which people that are in the know, there's some kind of official history of the Beatles until the, of course, the anthology, and you can see it's a very fun, very lovable book by the what's happened to it, and with it, at the same time, or even earlier, Growing Up with the Beatles. It's a very personal book by Ron Schaumburg, and the people in America probably know about this book. Also has a very nice poster here in the middle, which is in mint condition. As you see, it's still attached to the book. With this picture, a beautiful one. Now, this is of course not the original copy. I have my original copy, and the poster I put it on my wall back in my parents' house when I was a boy. This is of course a new one that I acquired a few years ago. Okay, let's go to the book The Beatles from Cavern to Star Club. Now this is some kind of discography, history, a mix of all the things here. Also it has 45s here of the Hamburg Twist, very rare one because it's only attached to this book by the German person Hans Olof Gottfriedson, not a German, it's a Swedish one from Sweden. The Illustrated Chronicle, Discography and Price Guide, 1957-1962 by the Beatles, so it's before their stardom here. Okay, it has also Price Guide, but it's very, very interesting book to read about the early years of the Beatles. Now, the ultimate guide for recording sessions. We turn to Mark Lewison. This is, of course, again one of my books that I read and I look quite often. Every session of the Beatles, doing by dates. Okay, we are now going to look at a very, very interesting book. This is, of course, not for the, let's say, Beatles collectors or the people that love the Beatles, because this is living life without loving the Beatles. This is an eight book who hate the Beatles, a survivor's guide, but it's very funny. Gary Hall, see the apple partially eaten, and very interesting reading, even though it can make you angry if you're fond of the Beatles. Another ultimate guide for me, essential guide for me, is this one, still today, the Beatles London. Now, if you watch one of my latest video that I've been to London, been to the place where the picture help and the Twickenham Film Studios, I went by this book. This is the first edition. I think there were several editions after that. This is the first edition of this guide, the ultimate guide to over 400 Beatles sites in and around London, followed by Dirk Taylor, Pete Schroeder, Mark Lewison, and Adam Smith, with maps and everything that you need. Now, the next two books are quite posh and luxurious, because there are books from the book publication Genesis, that is known worldwide to produce this kind of books. The first one is Golden Dreams by Max Schöller and Astrid Kircher. Cover, the red cover, and Genesis is known for this kind of books, you know, kinds of things here. And you have here, see, you have here signatures by the writers, Max Schöller and the famous Astrid Kircher, and it's numbered 2461. It has a very, very nice photos from 63, 64 era, taken by Astrid mainly. Golden Dreams, Genesis book, very luxurious and expensive. The other expensive and quite desirable book is The Beatles in Germany. See the plastic cover, you can see. Genesis, and the book itself, very, very nice, embossed, everything here, and what kind of things in it. I want to show you, first of all, the signatures of the writers. Mainly Tony Sheridan here, the late Tony Sheridan, and also Gunther Zint and Ulf Kruger. writer for the Beatles in Germany, from the Hamburg days till the days of their shows back in Germany in the mid-60s. Okay, now, there's special things in it, some kind of inserts. First of all, there's some kind of paper here that says thank you for purchasing this kind of book, and which is of course very expensive, very desirable, and very rare. And the ultimate thing here is mainly the stamps, papers here, sheets, very colorful, from things that were in Germany, like magazines and like posters about shows. And this is just beautiful, 4 papers of stamps sheet here. Yeah, the Beatles, Bravo, other things from Germany. Now I'll finish this video with a special 4 books that I have that were manufactured in Israel, in Hebrew. They are very rare. The first one is England's Dreaming, the Beatles, England and the 60s, by Oded Albrunner. Oded Albrunner is a professor, history professor in the Hebrew University in Jerusalem. And he made a research about the influence of the Beatles on England in the 60s, on the culture of the 60s. Very interesting book. I don't know if you can get a translation, but it's a very interesting book. The other 2 books that I'm going to show you are part of a series that was to be a series that discontinued after 2 volumes only, by a guy, Israeli guy that I know of, by the name of Yarden Uriel. And he tried to make a series about the history of the Beatles, and he only made the 2 books before he discontinued the series, unfortunately, during the 80s. These are now hard to get books. First one is The Early Years. You can see pictures and, of course, written material about the years before the Beatles stardom era. And the second one is The Way to the Top. You can see the Beatles in 1963, 62 and 63. And the forward here is by Bill Harry. He made forward, this of course is translation of his essay, his forward, back in the 80s. Now my last book, of course another Israeli one, is a very nice one, a very rare one, is this one. It's very appropriate to end this video because we are now celebrating 50 years to Yellow Submarine. And this is a translation of the Beatles Yellow Submarine book by a guy called Ehud Manor, the late Ehud Manor, and his daughter Libby. Now, it's impossible to find nowadays this book in Hebrew. It's of course some kind of children's book, but it's a very nice book in Hebrew with a very nice translation. And this is, I think, again, an appropriate way to end and to finish this video. So until next time, bye bye from LA.